Well, when you've been doing a show as long as we have and have this many episodes, you're going to look back at them at times and say, man, what was I thinking? I was so stupid. And that's happened more times than I care to admit. Now, a lot of it has to do with the way games have just kind of exploded in prices in the recent years, and you're always going to look back and say, I should have gotten that because it was much cheaper. But man, it really does still sting when you see what you could have gotten for super cheap and what it goes for now and know that it's completely out of your price range. Most people don't have a record of it that they can go back and watch on video. We do, and I'm still tortured to this day every time I have to replay those. Now, I've done a video on the subject before, but that was only 5. Trust me, there's plenty. So I figured I could come up with 5 more, and it was extremely easy to do. Now, this isn't top 5 per se. However, it's 5 moments from the show, big regrets that I wish I could have a do-over on. Now, before we get to the video, let's go back in time. Back to the 80s and 90s when we were kids, and in the morning we'd get right up in the summertime or on a Saturday morning and head straight for that console and play video games. But you had to eat breakfast, and what was the best breakfast? Cereal. But as we got older, we started to realize that that sugar wasn't really that great for our waistline and our health. Which is why I'm happy to say that this video has been brought to you by my favorite cereal as an adult, Magic Spoon. Over the last few years, I've pretty much cut out all sugar from my diet. And so when alternatives like this come along and allow me to indulge in things that I used to really like, I'm all about that when it's done correctly. Not only does it have 12 to 14 grams of protein per serving, which is great if you're trying to build muscle or even just feel satiated throughout the day, it only has 4 carbs per serving if you're trying to do the low carb thing. But the best part, in my opinion, is the 0 grams of sugar. And they don't use artificial sweeteners. They use, as the main sweetener, allulose. Now, allulose is a sugar that I use personally in my everyday life. So when I saw that they used it in the cereal, I was extremely interested in trying it out. Now, I was actually buying this stuff on my own before Magic Spoon even reached out to do a sponsorship. They have all kinds of flavors to choose from, like best-selling cocoa, fruity. They have honey nut, blueberry muffin, and my new favorite, birthday cake, which makes the milk taste just like heaven. Heavenly is the best word I could describe. It's just, it shouldn't be that good having 0 sugar, but somehow it is. Now click the link below and you can get yourself some Magic Spoon today. You can build your own variety box. And if you use our promo code CHODE, you will get $5 off your order. Also, if you live in the UK or Canada, they will ship it to you as well. So click the link below or scan the little code here. Go to magicspoon.com/chode and get $5 off your order and start enjoying cereal again as an adult. Now let's roll the video!
Oh, it's Friday night. Don't know what I'm gonna do tonight. I could sit here and pick my nose while I watch a brand new video. Whoa, Top 5 Friday tonight.
All right, number 5 on the list is way back to episode 18 or 17 or 18, whatever. It was the very first, technically, it was the second arcade auction that we ever went to. Now, this is the arcade where Jay got the Tekken for $10, and this was also back when you could get arcades for dirt cheap. That's certainly not the case anymore. So many arcades have been popping up recently that a lot of these arcade owners with a lot of money to work with will go to these arcade auctions now and just clean up. It necessarily wasn't the case back then. Sure, there were a few arcade owners at these things, but I think generally speaking, most people that went into this was just a hobbyist, somebody who wanted an arcade in their home. At least that's what it felt like for this one anyway. It's what I would assume, considering some of these went for absolute dirt cheap prices that really make no sense when you look at them with today's goggles. Bucky O'Hare, $25. Simpsons, $300. Look back on those and I kind of get a little sick. How awesome would it be to have a Bucky O'Hare for $25 or a Simpsons for $300? Now, granted, if the Bucky O'Hare went for $25, it was probably not working. But just to have even a shell of a Bucky O'Hare cab For $25, you would have to think that that would go for a lot more these days. But yeah, mainly I'm looking at The Simpsons. $300, and this one was working. And there were 3 that day, and they all ended up being around the same price. Now, I didn't get a ton of time on The Simpsons arcade. I played it a few times at Chuck E. Cheese as a kid, but I do have a little bit of nostalgia for it. And I would have loved to have taken that home, but I know at that time I didn't have $300 to blow on an arcade. And also I was living in a small apartment. Where the hell was I gonna put an arcade? I don't even have a place to put an arcade here now. Not a full-size one anyway. But still, I look back on that and I do kind of regret it, because you know what the old saying is. It's best to just buy the arcade and then figure out what you're gonna do with it. Alright, the next episode is episode 21. Now this episode is infamous for the whole losing of an SD card. Now we all know that Melvor lost that SD card in Vegas. We're shooting a lot of footage, and when you're shooting a lot of footage, the SD card will become full, which means that you need to take the thing out, put it in the bag, put a fresh SD card in, and continue on with your filming adventure. The problem is that in that process of taking the old SD card out, it never got to its destination, which would have been the pocket of the camera bag. My suspicion is that Melvor lost it. And when I say suspicion, I really mean that's what happened. Oh no, he's gonna blame it on me, because that's what he does. You know, he drops the ball, and sure, I'll be the fall guy. You know what? I'll be the fall guy. Yeah, I lost the SD card. It was me all along. I lost it. If that's what, you know, it takes, I'll be the whipping boy. Sure, I lost it. That sucks. There was a lot of good stuff on that, because we shot most of that first day. That's a regret, but I'm also gonna couple it with this. In that lost footage, I had come across a Gremlins complete on Atari, minty condition, in the box. And that's one thing, I want to try to collect all the Gremlins games in the boxes. I only have a couple. It was there that weekend. We shot it on film. I actually picked it up. I was actually gonna go back and get it when we were filming at another point. With everything that happened that weekend, I just never got around to going back in time to get it before it had been bought by some asshole. Who this asshole is, I don't know, but he was an asshole because he got my Gremlins game. And when Melvor dies, I will make damn sure his tombstone clearly reads, "Lost the memory card in Vegas." Number 3 on the list is episode 50, the Discount Electronics Store. This is just a general sort of regret. This place was a freaking gold mine. We didn't realize what we had until it was gone. You got a glimpse of it in the episode, but there was just so much more to that store. What's really awesome about this type of store is that all of this stuff has been sitting around just forever, and it's been brought onto the shelves. It's old new stock from the 80s and the 90s, and it's stuff that you would have never known existed if not going up and seeing it right in front of your face. I can't imagine there being another store like this, and if there is, then it's probably going to go under as well, because how many old people really care about this stuff? The numbers are dwindling and getting less and less every day. There were so many mid-90s, early 90s, late 90s PC games for $1 each. We're talking in the box, we're talking in the box, factory sealed, and just sitting there, piles and piles and piles of them. I don't even remember if we got any on camera, but there was an island in the back that just had, I feel like they had a couple hundred of these things. Now, while I'm not a huge PC gamer, I did do some PC gaming in the 90s and early 2000s. Not heavily, but some. So a lot of this stuff just has a certain charm to it to me. And for $1 each, I grabbed a few. I went and got a handful of things. Now, not during filming, but during one of my many other visits to this store. But I definitely left a ton there that I wish I hadn't at this point. All right, the next one on the list, episode 49. Now, you're gonna think that I'm a pervert, but let me explain myself. We were at Freaks and Geeks, and in the display case here, for sale, were 3 of the most pristine, minty condition Atari porn games you will ever see in your entire life. And look, I know it's kind of weird that I would want these, but they're a part of gaming history, and they're sexy. Now, since then, I actually have picked up Bachelor Party and Beat 'em and Eat 'em through a trade with Kingsley. In the box, little worse condition than the ones that I saw there at Freaks and Geeks, but nonetheless, I have them. The one that really stings is Custer's Revenge. What self-respecting retro video game collector does not have Custer's Revenge in their collection? Well, I certainly didn't at the time, and I still don't. That's why this is a huge regret. I had the opportunity to own this amazing piece of art, and I let it slip through. I didn't even consider getting it. And I don't even understand why. And honestly, the game's not horrible. I mean, if you get past the whole questionable content, it's challenging. You're trying to dodge these arrows. It's not easy. The arrows don't come down all the way, which makes it a little bit harder because you don't really... Again, I don't want these games because I'm some sort of pervert or anything deviant or anything like that. I simply want them because... Alright, so biggest regret on Game Chasers, that's easy. Game room trading posts. The fact that we never went to this place with money, which is kind of understandable. Now let me explain. It is 5 hours away from where we live. Whenever we went to this place, we're always on a long ass road trip, either to Canada or Philadelphia. That's a lot of money that we're spending on a road trip. So we have to be a little bit frugal when we go to this amazing game shop. I mean, we can't just throw down $500 and then sleep in the car once we get to, our destination. Well, I guess we could have. I guess we should have, actually, now that I think about it. When I look back at these old Game Room Trading Post episodes, it makes me want to stab myself. The sheer volume of games for just dirt cheap prices, it's... I know we're living in the year 2023 and it just seems strange, but it just seems strange even for back then. All these in-box Genesis games for $15, some even $10. All these boxed NES games and Super Nintendo games from $10 to $15. And good stuff. I look at the shelves whenever I am going through some of these episodes for the Blu-ray releases. As I'm cleaning them up, I look and I see, I pause the screen and I zoom into what I missed on these shelves, and I'm like, I need that one, I need that one, I'm still looking for that one, and then every time I'm like, that right now is going to cost me $100 to get that one. That's going to cost me $80 to get that complete, and I could have gotten it for $10, $15, and it just makes me sick. Hell, one that stands out for me is Batman Returns on the Super Nintendo. I still need the box for that game. It's one of my favorites. And they probably had like 2 or 3 there. Just, here you go, $15, little man. Put that shit in my hand. If that money doesn't show, then you owe me, my jungle love. Well, hell, one time I went in there with only $25 to my name. There were probably actual homeless people in that city that could have walked in and bought more games than me that day. So that's easily my biggest regret, is not walking into Game Room Trading Post back in the day like a pimp with hundos in my pocket. It must be nice to walk into a store like that, or any place really, and just be like, I'm gonna buy some retro video games and I have thousands of dollars to spend. Have you ever watched the episodes and seen something that you were like, man, you guys are really dropping the ball here. You should get that. You should have gotten that. You're an idiot for not getting it. I'm sure there's plenty more. I am very confident that there's plenty more, actually. So I would really like to see some of the ones that I missed, so I can watch those as well and cry a little bit. Anyway, thanks for watching.